Hi, and welcome to another video at Play-agricola.com. I'm William, and we're picking back up with the G4G5 tournament. This is the final game of the third round, maybe fourth round, between Chris, Manpanzee, TheBoot, and Chris. And since we have two Chris's, I'm going to refer to Chris with the capital C as admin, or maybe the yellow player, and then Chris with the small c and two s's as the white player. Um, yeah, so this tournament's been going on. These guys are, I think, this is a lower bracket match where these guys are all fighting to stay in the tournament. I've got the totals from the first two games up there on the screen. So Chris, the white player's at 103 points, TheBoot 102, Manpanzee at 98, and admin Chris at 92. So no one's out of it. I mean, winning by beating someone by 11 points is not unheard of. I mean, it would take a great game from admin Chris to do so, but we'll see. And we're going to hop right into it. Yeah. So we have TheBoot with the first move, Reedstone Food. Just as a reminder, the G4G5 tournament, this is basically a playtest tournament, which is to get everyone to play these cards because they are going to be added to a new version of Agricola and possibly published as their own deck as well. But basically in 2016 there's going to be a new release of the game, new edition, and it's going to contain G4, G5 cards in a deck. So that'll be pretty cool. We have a very unusual start here with both TheBoot and Chris passing on playing an occupation. So admin Chris is pretty happy. He plays the Visiting Quarryman, which is going to be basically one. He pays one action now to gain two actions later, which can be nice. And TheBoot comments that the cards were pretty bad, and then we see Charcoal Burner, who is simply put one of the best cards in the game. Yeah, he's top 4 or 5 occupations that are played with commonly on the site. There's Landing Net out from the boot. Pretty simple card. He's going to be doing a lot of Reedstone Food and 2 Reed taking in the early game. Yeah, also, if the cards are not that strong, then that maybe would explain why Occupation was passed on early enough, but I have a feeling we're going to see a pretty normal amount of occupations come out. Just because if you don't play occupations, it's hard to have a really good game. In that normally, in order to, probably for Chris and who's the other player that's behind? Probably for admin Chris and Manpanzee, they need to have like a very high point ceiling game. Since they're behind. So they definitely are going to hopefully use a lot of their cards that will let them do a lot. We have Chris using his first Visiting Quarryman action already. So we have him purchase the first fireplace right at the start of the game and still has another action from it. So not a bad start. A little unusual that he rushed it out this quickly, but I guess there's not much else to do. And when you have the first 2 clay, you definitely want to get that first fireplace. So that's a fine start. Chris is going to be hoping that sheep comes out, which it did not, but he's going to hope that it comes out sooner rather than later. Other thing to note, we had Manpanzee plow a field instead of take starting player. That's usually a move that people like to force We have I quite like this card, Overachiever from Admin Chris. So this is quite a good start from him. Basically, whenever you use a family growth, you can play an additional improvement, and it can be a major, and you save a building resource. So if you go on family growth early on in the game, you can play a major and save a resource, or play a minor and save a resource. Ends up being quite nice, and even just on family growth without space in your home, it lets you play a major on that, which can be super nice, especially, late game you're taking an oven or upgrading your cooking hearth so that you can upgrade into a cooking hearth so you can feed easily. Under Gardener out from Manpanzee, nothing too special about that. Interestingly, we have another of the Reedstone food cards with the Fish Trap come out. Fish Trap, similar to Landing Net, gives you an extra food when you go on Reedstone Food. So looks like we're going to see those two guys grabbing lots of reed and stone this game, I would imagine. That move also is nice for Chris because the wood, he's going to be able to get wood almost for sure, like with the second move next round. So getting that second reed nice and early is really strong for him. I shouldn't overdo it. Not really strong, but it gives him the second read that he's going to need in order to build the first room. And if he can beat the boot to building the first room, he's going to be quite happy with that. As I guess letting the boot build the first room is not so bad as well because he's right before him. Interestingly, we have Schnapps Distiller come out from Manpanzee. So Manpanzee is putting a lot of work into the setup. He now has one action that's going to give him 7 food, and that is quite nice. I'll be interested to see if he ends up sowing it, if he got miners that support having an early sown vegetable. That'll be cool to see. The other thing about that early visiting quarryman is that it's going to give Admin Chris the resources he needs in order to build improvements. He might, oh, this is really cool. So I bet we're going to see Chris, if Clay is not taken, I bet we see him use his visiting quarryman to grab Clay, and then whenever he family grows, he can family growth, play a miner, and play the clay oven and get himself 5 food, and that'll be a really, really nice play. So I think Chris has had quite a nice start so far. Yeah, very interesting that we have both TheBoot and Chris Pass not playing any occupations. Not only does it say something about the quality of their occupations, it also says something about the miners they have in their hand. Um, Either they chose not to take or are choosing not to play miners that have high occupation costs. And especially when you're, especially if one of these two ends up starting players a lot because family growth comes at round 7. Will be interesting to see what miners they have. Yeah, because of course you can only draft occupations with or miners with low occupation costs, but if you do that, you're probably passing um, the better miners to the other people in the game. So we had Chris pass on taking the 3 clay, probably banking on getting 4 clay this round, I would think. Also interesting, he takes reed stone food instead of 2 reed. Chris is going to be, I guess yeah, Chris is going to have a hard time getting that second reed, I think, just because TheBoot and Chris are both wanting to reed stone food so much, and especially that they're, with the extra options. There's TheBoot building the very first room. Yeah. It is surprising that Manpanzee chose to day labor a second time. I wonder if he's got. Oh, it would be really cool if he had something like turnip field. That would be quite cool. You know, he can sow both his vegetables and take starting player. That would be quite nice. We have Apple Picker come out for Chris. No, I don't think Apple Picker is a bad card. It's not the greatest, but it's okay. Especially early on, you know, when the actions are not very good. A grain of wood and a food can end up being quite nice. Um, So that card will end up being worth a couple food and a couple wood. But I guess looking at his other cards, especially with the fish trap, he didn't need to do that early. He had other good stuff to do. We have a G5 card come out from Chris, Admin Chris. 3 food in stage 2 is just absolutely amazing. Makes that second feeding so much easier so that even if Chris gets blocked to building the clay oven, he's going to be feeding no problem. So I am really, really liking Chris's start to this game. A little surprising that Manpanzee's, I guess he's not worried about getting his vegetables sowed, which is a little unusual to me, especially because he took the second one. Maybe he didn't have any other good actions. I wasn't really paying that close attention to the board. I guess ensuring that you have enough food, he's just paying the time so that he's okay later. Another G5 card here, Engineering Apprentice. This card is going to let you play some stables, and it's especially, it's funny that he plays this because he was saying that his occupations aren't that good. So Engineering Apprentice only really makes sense if you're going to play a lot of occupations. I guess it was a free stable. You could look at it that way. And then when he plays the third Oc, he'll have 2 stables, which is enough to hold a breeding pair, which is usually what you like to go for. Yeah, so Chris is really hoping that Family Growth doesn't come out. Actually, if it comes out next round, he's probably still okay. But he's looking at the fact that he doesn't have 3 wood, and it might come back around to him. We'll see. He really wants that 3 wood in order to be able to build his room. G5 card here, Flamingo Lake. This is an interesting card. Basically, it rewards you for being in last. So if you're sitting behind someone that's going to be taking starting player, then it gives you food. But as anyone who's played the game a lot knows, being in 4th sucks a lot. So you don't normally like to leave yourself in that position. So Admin Chris did get 3 wood, which is quite nice for him. Gonna be able to build that room next round. And yeah, he will build that room next round, I'm sure. He's also got the clay that he wanted in order to build the clay oven. Unless someone steals it from him, you know, TheBoot does have the resources he needs to grab it, but probably won't, I wouldn't think. Here's a Franstech card that I think is just awesome. Grain Speculator. 1 action for 3 grain, even though it comes over time. Just a great card. And the great thing about this card is that even if you eat the first 2 grain, like you bake it, clay oven, stone oven, something like that, you still get another grain that you can, that's worth 2 points. You know, that 3rd grain is still worth something. I think Grain Speculator is quite a strong card. Yeah, Manpanzee's looking quite strong. I mean, he's going to be 4th person to grow, but if he has, you know, I'll have to see what else he does, but if he's going to be this efficient, then losing out on the couple actions, he'll definitely be able to account for that. I have to see what minors he took. And of course, charcoal burn is just a very strong card. So here's the nice thing about Apple Picker. You know, Chris looks at the board, says there's not really anything that he really wants to do. He gets to take grain, wood, and a food, which ends up being quite a nice, I mean, it's not amazing, but it's not bad. Undisturbed pond. Now this card is really cool in that if you look at the stats around it, if they have a very low undisturbed pond, similar to Alms, in that if you plan on playing it and you're able to based on your draft, it can be so nice, you know, because it's going to be worth 5 food for boot, and it's a point as well. Like, but on the other hand, of course, you know, you can't play any occupations in stage 1, and usually in stage 1, that's the most efficient action available to you is playing an occupation. So we'll see. I'd like to know if he has any other occupation cards, or no occupation cards, I should say. So Chris is looking at, does he have to build a room right now, is I imagine what he's thinking. I think if he doesn't build a room, Manpanzee is not going to build a room with his first move. I think if you look at the way Manpanzee's been playing this game, he is way more likely to plow a field and sow, for example, with this round, than he is to build a room and try to jump in the family growth queue. I very much doubt that he's going to do that. But of course, you never know. It might happen. But generally, I think as a player, when someone has the opportunity to build a room, but it doesn't... Now, if this would guarantee Manpanzee's growth, he's going to do it. But I think he's not going to. Yeah. Here's Miller's. This is a G5 card. The picture of play on the name Muller. So it says, you know, it's... One of the hard things about grain strategies is that you have to go on sow bake, and sometimes you just don't want to, and all it's worth for you is food. Nice thing about a card like Miller is that it's going to let him sow whenever he wants to, and even if you only get to use the effect once, the fact that you can build a baking improvement when playing this card basically makes it as good as going on clay oven, as major minor clay oven. So it's just really, it's a simple play, you know, it's not that complicated. You just replace the major minor action with a 1 occupation action. But anytime you can play an occupation and do something that you would want to do anyways, that's usually good because, you know, the best miners in the game have high occupation prerequisites. So I think Chris is having quite a good start. Now looking at Manpanzee, it looks to me like he's definitely going to go for building 2 rooms at once. So if I'm Chris here, actually, if Chris is able to look into the future and see that next round he doesn't have anything that he wants to do, he could pass up on building here because Manpanzee's not going to build with 9 wood. He's going to wait for that 10th 100%. And Chris does. He says, I'm going to take 3 wood because that's as good as the action that he'll get next round. And yeah, good start, I think. Oh, Manpanzee builds a room. That is strange to me. I guess he pressures Chris a little. I am very surprised that he's not. I guess he wants to stay on... Now, okay, if Manpanzee builds a 4th wood room now, I'm going to be very surprised. My guess is that with that play, he's saying, I need to build a room at some point anyways. There's not that much good stuff on the board for me at the moment. You know, going to build the room that I need to. And it also puts Chris under a little bit of pressure. Here's a nice, oh, this is always nice. Whenever you can stack up the no occupation cards, very nice for the boot. He's going to get 3 grain, and there is a crap load of grain in this game. So I think everyone's going to end up having, like, this is going to be a very... it's interesting that family growth comes late, which means the number of actions are low, but I think everyone's actions are super efficient. You know, that alms basket, the grain speculator, you know, everyone's doing a lot with few moves. So I would guess that we're going to have a very high scoring game, and that is probably that's probably good for the people that need to catch up. The fact that the point values are going to be high, you know, you can score 55 and maybe your opponent only gets 45 or 44 if you need to come all the way back. Twibble and Twivel, another G5 card. A little unfortunate he loses out on it. Oh, and here we go. Here's why Manpanzee did not, or did build a room last round. Backdoor. Sorry, I kind of skipped away from Twibble and Twivel. Basically, it gives you food. Kind of a waste because he missed out on 3 food from it, actually. So a little unfortunate, but I guess he didn't need to go on starting player at all, so not a huge loss. Quite cool backdoor. Backdoor is an interesting card in that sometimes you are so glad you have it in your hand, but sometimes it's just a dead card. So then we had Manpanzee play Unwanted Goods, another G5 card, which he used to get a wood, which is going to let him build another room. So that's why he built one wood room, is that he knew he could backdoor next round. So that's quite nice. And man, he throws out Shepherd Boy. Nothing too significant there. Probably his 6th or 7th pick. So yeah, Manpanzee, I have to say, with that move, I think Manpanzee is in the lead, undoubtedly. A little surprised that he's not gotten his stuff sewn, but hey, he has all that set up and resources for another room, and he's got his feeding really, really set. So yeah, Manpanzee looking like he's doing really well. TheBoot, you know, he's got first family growth. He's got a bunch of grain. I think the big things for me that I'm going to want to see from him is take big, efficient wood grabs, you know, 4 wood whenever he can, as well as, in order to do his fencing as quickly as possible, as well as, you know, if he has some... On the other hand, if he has some way of getting wood or, you know, or building fences easier, sorry, is what I was trying to say. You know, if he had something like Fence Stealer, that would be quite nice for him, I think. The other thing that I'm looking for from TheBoot is a plow. The plows are interesting cards in that they let you do in one action usually something that you might take 3 to do normally. But the flip side is someone might not have done that. Oh, this is cool. Really cool. We got wood-fired oven from Chris. So we're going to have 3 ovens in the game, maybe more. You know, I guess I don't know what his other miners were. Because turning a... Like, wood-fired oven is normally the best use for it, is the bake action. You know, you have clay oven, you play wood-fired oven for the bake, and you get 2 points as well. Or you turn wood-fired oven into, you know, the cards that require you to return an oven or have oven prerequisites, like Bakehouse, for example. So be interested to see if that comes out. But I have to say that wood-fired oven just makes Manpanzee look even stronger because he's going to get even more charcoal burner resources than he would otherwise. Yeah. Oh, jeez. And did he just take 6 wood? Holy. Yeah, I think, well, it is early to say, but I think Manpanzee is in the pole position undoubtedly. It's up to the other players to keep up with him. Now, having said that, you know, is he so favored that for sure he's going to win by 5 points? Maybe not. Maybe he only wins by three. Which would not be enough to overtake Boot or Chris. Um, but he definitely has to be feeling okay about his chances. Wolf's an interesting card. At first glance, it looks like it just gives you three boar, but it doesn't. It gives you three boar and a clay, a wood, and a grain. Um, Now, the awkward thing about this card is usually you don't have a way of holding those boar, so then it's kind of just like it's kind of just like a bunch of food, unless you have a way of eating it. Um, but yeah, if you look at it in terms of it's three boar and a clay, a wood, and a grain, then that doesn't seem so bad. Um, I don't know. This card in my games, it hasn't. When I was playing a lot, it was hardly getting picked and almost never played. So, be very interested to see how it does. Oh, we also had Muddy Land come out from admin Chris. Um, Pretty simple card. Um, Now, the nice thing about this is that it gives you two clay for each field you plow. So it does combo with plows and that sort and donkey and that sort of thing. But usually I mean, it replaces an action. He's not going to have to take clay because he can plow a field instead to get his three clay to renovate, for example. So yeah, I think yeah, it's a quite good card. And late game as well. The other thing about Muddy Land, you get the pottery. Late game you're plowing a bunch of fields for points. Well, they're also giving you bonus points from your Muddy Land, or maybe giving you clay to eat goods. Um, I would guess that we're gonna see, unless TheBoot builds a stone oven here, we're gonna see Chris play stone oven with his family growth action. Yeah, he passed on it, which is interesting because it means that the ovens are going to be in two people's hands, I think. Um, yeah, I would bet that we have Chris, family growth, play a miner, and then play stone oven. So he plays crib. Crib, a nice combo card with his overachiever, two cards that make you want to family growth a lot of times. Oh, and he plays the well. Okay, yeah, that works as well. That's good. If you don't need the bake action from the stone oven, which he doesn't because he has 13 food, the well is more points. And it's also going to give you food, but it doesn't cost you a grain. So that's cool. I like that play. I wonder if he forgot to save a resource, though. He had 3 stone. He had 3 wood, I think. So I wonder if Chris did pay for all and forgot to discount with overachiever. He may have. So we have Muddy Land, and we also have Muddy Waters. This card is really strange because normally a card like this, what makes it good is that it's a free point and it gives you something. Like if you compare it to, well, Duck Pond's one of the best cards in the game, so that's a bad thing to compare it to. But if you compare it to something like is it Fish Pond? I think it's called, where you get food on the even number round spaces. That gives you a card as well, a point as well, in addition to the food. So, yeah, generally that one, it's only going to give you 1 or 2 clay, and that 1 or 2 clay on its own is not going to be all that valuable. Um, yeah. Other thing is, someone asked if Manpanzee's going for minimalist. Not with that Muddy Waters play. You would not play that if he was going to do that. Yeah. So, I was saying that I thought admin, I still think Manpanzee's doing really well, But Boot is going to get his fourth person out super early. So if he has some sort of plow or some way to do lots of plowing quickly, or some other thing that's going to make him more efficient, then that'll be super strong. There's Chris noticing that he gets to pay resource less. I wonder if someone messaged him and reminded him. At this point, if I'm Chris, I'm just trying to... Chris with two S's, I'm in first. I'm just trying to place... Can he play safe? Like he's what, 5 points ahead of Manpanzee, 1 point ahead of Boot, 11 points ahead of Chris. I think Chris is not overtaking... Admin Chris is not overtaking Chris. But I'd be worried about Manpanzee, so... I'm definitely, if I'm Chris, I'm looking at those two and saying, doing a little bit of playing to keep ahead of them. We had Boot Reno and play backdoor, which is always funny when that card, because that card is a passing miner, So it just makes everyone family growth faster, and, so we've now had 5 family growths with only 3 rounds of it being out. So that certainly counteracts the effects of the late family growth in the game. So yeah, I definitely think this is going to be quite a high scoring game from all our players. So yeah, looking at this game, we're in the 3rd stage, and all the players had 9 food or more. That is ridiculous. That pretty much never happens. That all these guys have gotten, and partially it's a compounding effect. Admin Chris was so set from his food, from his clay oven, and from his sheep take that he doesn't need to take any other food. So that means that fishing and traveling players get to get super big, which means that Chris and TheBoot get really good food takes, because they accumulate a lot, and then your actions become much more efficient. And this is something that you almost never see, is Chris saying he's going to pay 2 food for 1 VP. That hardly ever happens. Oh, is the wolf bottom to top, clay, wood grain? Yep. So Chris just uses wolf for the first time, comboing with the apple picker. 2 grain, a wood, a food, and a boar is quite a nice action. And now the next time he takes wood, he'll get an extra wood and an extra boar as well. And if he does it on the 1 grain spot, he's going to do the same thing again, except 2 wood instead of 2 grains. So really, these guys are all doing quite well. So, okay. Manpanzee just plowed a field instead of taking clay. Now, if I were him, now admittedly, he's probably a much far superior player to me. If I were him and I wanted to build a 4th room, I would probably take the clay here, because then I would use my last 2 actions to build a room in family growth to get a 4th person. Now, my guess is that with that plow and not taking clay, he's saying that he is not interested in building the 4th room, and that he is going to use his 15 wood instead to build fences, and he's going to have a very pretty farm, although not as big of a family. So I'll be interested to see. That's my guess, at least, that he's not going to build another room. Makes the reed that he has a bit of a waste, but you never know. If he renos twice, I guess he'll use 2 of it. Oh, he builds 2 rooms. Huh. Now, for me, those two rooms, he's going to have a hard time renovating. Not that he's going to have a hard time renovating to clay, but if he wants to renovate to clay and then potentially further down the line to stone, he's going to need to renovate to clay, early. Like you want to renovate clay to clay, you know, round round 12 probably, usually. But he's not going to do that. The charcoal burner certainly will give him the wood that he needs to fence later on in the game. But I'm a little surprised that he built two rooms there. Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to think. Probably if it was me, instead of plow, I would have taken clay, just because, and if I was going to build more rooms, just because, yeah. Then we have Chris noticing that he took wood at the same time that he took grain, so he should get another boar, which turns into yet another boar on top of that. And he also played Manufacturer. Manufacturer, quite a nice card. The big advantage, saving 2 resources is really nice, but what I think is even better is the fact that you can play Joinery, Pottery, Basket Maker's Workshop on minor improvement actions, which basically means that you can starting player hog for the rest of the game. Second action starting player every time that you're able to. First action do something nice, and second action, Joinery, Pottery, BMW, and that can be quite good. Oh, so here's part of why we have Manpanzee building the 5 rooms, so that he can play Wooden Strongbox. 1 wood for 2 points is super nice. Now, if he can get the 6th room, if he has something like Master Builder, the extra 2 points is amazing. Yeah. Which is dance ground. Nice. Frantic Miner lets him occupy spaces. Basically, it covers up the fact that you're not going to plow a lot. Usually, the other case is that it lets you do super big fencing for maybe some bonus points or whatever. But usually the use with this card is that it's going to be 1 move to occupy 2 farmyard spaces, which is 2 points. And usually it's a good card to play when you're not going to get that many fields out. Because one of the advantages of fields, of course, is that it occupies spaces in your farmyard. And of course, looking at Chris, he's, we're this far into the game and he hasn't plowed any fields yet. Yeah, it's a nice, it's almost like a plow, which is dance ground, in my opinion, is almost like a plow. But I guess anything that gives you points is almost like a plow. Yeah. Yeah, this is quite the game. I would be very interested to know if any of the players felt that they got blocked a lot or they got denied of actions that they really wanted to do, because people are doing pretty well. I wonder if Chris activated his Twivel. He might have forgotten to do so. No, he did. Yeah, he took an extra food. Good for him. He's more on top of things than sometimes other players are. Now this is where Manpanzee is making up for eating his all the vegetables that he's taken. The fact that he's gonna have so many actions, taking, like, one of the things about taking grain and vegetable is that you don't want to do it multiple times. Now Manpanzee's in a situation where he's gonna have a ton of extra actions, so using them to do that sort of thing is not bad. Also, I can't believe the 6th clay didn't get taken. I guess they looked around and said, no one really needs it, so they all passed on it. I mean, Boot probably is not going to take clay again. Chris Probably would take clay again, actually, if he could, although he doesn't have to build the stone oven if he uses his overachiever. Um, Other Chris is also probably not going to need to take clay again, except for the fact that the pottery is gone. Oh, turnip field is in the game, but it's not in the hands of the player I predicted it in. This is simply an amazing miner. The sow action plus the uh, being able to play it, on starting player or on family growth is so good. So yeah, Chris looking good. Especially with the fact that we're now seeing that, we had Chris take sow, and the thing about sow in round 11 is that usually its value goes way up. Um, because that's about the time that people are usually done fighting over family growth, and you normally have a couple players with grain or vegetable and plowed fields, and they're wanting to get it out, or it's the time in the game where the people who are feeding with ovens need to get that second bacon in order to feed their family. So turnip field, again, nice for that in that he lets it jump that. There's the fence stealer that I called out, but not from the boot. It's instead from Chris. So I think he's a little unhappy with how the game's going, but that's something that's going to help him come back into it. Basically a 6 wood action, and especially when he's getting stables from Engineering Apprentice, the fence dealer doing a small little pasture is it's not so problematic when you're getting the either the bonus animal space or the bonus covering your farmyard. So we have Manpanzee going really just making sure that feeding his huge family is not going to be an issue. Lots of action spent on taking goods. Now I can't believe this 7 clay is going by. Yeah, this is for all that these guys are growing, they're all kind of doing their own thing still. Like we have day labor, Reedstone food getting taken, I didn't think the boot was looking all that strong, but then he got to take 2 cattle and 3 boar in round 11, and that is amazing. Yeah. This game, I shouldn't try to predict who's gonna win. These guys are all having great games. I think yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think. I guess the nice thing about Manpanzee's position is that he's got his couple plows out, and I think probably, especially Boot and Chris, are going to be fighting over the plows for the rest of the game. So, yeah. There's Manpanzee actually chooses to take the 7 clay. I'm personally surprised it didn't get taken at 6. I guess I did decide that nobody else needs it super badly. But instead of growing his family, he says, hey, I don't get that 7 clay, that's going to really set me back more than that extra action will. So, also interesting that we have Boot go to stone fairly early. Oh, and he's got 2 reed and 5 stone. So this is awesome. We're going to see Boot build a stone room at full cost, which almost never happens. So that is really cool that he's able to do that. I wonder if House Steward was in the game or something like that. Or else these players just said, hey, this is our 3rd game, we're going to go for broke. We're going to go huge houses, Now the thing is, I'm looking at Boot, he doesn't have any wood in his supply. He still needs 6 wood to maximize his fences. He's got no plowed fields, and probably he's going to want to plow 4 of them. But if he's looking at the other players and saying that, hey, I'm going to get 4 wood or 3 wood with one of my actions, then it's not so bad. Okay, yeah, so Chris is obviously going to family growth with his overachiever in his crib. Just going to think a little bit about what exactly he does. The predicament that Chris is in is that he would love to play Stone Oven. But if he plays Stone Oven, he's going to be one clay short of being able to renovate, which is going to force him to take clay again, and that's going to be clay that he can't use. Actually, no, I'm lying. He can get the clay from Muddyland. Yeah, I think he should have played Stone Oven there. A little surprised that he didn't. He could, yeah, pay a clay and 2 stone, and then do another. Then when he plows just one more field, that'll give him the resources he needs to renovate. A little surprised by that, but I guess no one else is in a position to build stone ovens. Maybe feels that he doesn't need to rush. And the ram is going to do nothing. He doesn't have room. He would have to build fences and then take sheep with his next 2 moves, which he might do, but building 6 fences is not that good. Yeah, I think that might have been a mistake. Well, I don't know. Hard to say, but I think if it was me, I probably wouldn't have played Ram. I probably would have played Stone Oven. And then again, I'm out of the tournament, and Chris is still in it. So that's just my opinion. I also don't know the players' hands and what they saw and passed in the draft, so yeah, not sure. So Manpanzee sitting at 12 food with both cooking hearths and a stone oven still in the game for his charcoal burner. So he's looking really nice. He's going to max out on his fencing and have 4 or 5 plowed fields. That's super cool. Oh, nice. Nice. So not only is Boot going to build a stone room, he's going to build a stone room and plow 2 fields. So that's quite good for him. And he gets to do it on starting play. Like Rock Pyramid is a plow 2 fields action for him, and he gets to do it on starting player. And then round 13, probably his first move will be plow sow, and he's going to sow all that lovely grain he has in order to max out on grain points. So quite nice. Boot looking really good. So Boot saying that he wasn't planning on building a 5th stone room, but probably Manpanzee going on plow as much as he did in the mid game forced his. I guess he only did it twice, but all the players combined, the fact that he couldn't get on it, he chose to use those actions instead to take the resources to build a stone room. So that's quite cool. So other things to look out for in this game. Basket Maker's Workshop and Joinery both still available, but I guess no one else is really in a position to play them. To steal them from Chris, Small C Chris. Yeah. Game's starting to slow down just a little bit. As the players have more actions, they're needing to be a little more careful about what they do. Yeah. There's Chris. He takes... so he gets a second sheep, so now he has 2 sheep for breeding. But he doesn't have room for that sheep. He's got nowhere to put it. So I think it's just going to end up not being worth anything. Well, Manpanzee's fencing pretty much tells me that he's doesn't have Master Builder. Because if he had Master Builder, he wouldn't have arranged his farm like this. Just because now when he plows his next field, he's going to totally encircle his house. Yeah. Strange game. Very strange game. All the players are kind of... I think... I guess whenever you have the player in the first and second position choosing not to build play occupations, and the other players did want to play occupations, um, it's an unusual game because usually people are competing over the occupation spot, and that's a limiting factor. But in this case, um, everybody got to do what they wanted to do in the early game, and that's causing them to do quite well. Plum Patch for Manpanzee, really nice 2-point miner, also going to be worth 2 food. Quite good. So what I'll be interested to see if Manpanzee can get to a stone house. We got 2 3-stone actions. Probably he can get one of them. Probably not going to get both of them. But you never know. Hmm. Farmer's Straw Hat. This is a very cool card. Um, the great thing about this card is it probably lets you resow some of your fields that you normally wouldn't be able to. So, Manpanzee didn't get to sow until the current stage, but the Farmer's Straw Hat means that his vegetable fields are going to be clear, which is always nice because then you can resow them and get more points from your grain and vegetables. I think it's very interesting looking at the fact that there's the fences. Um, yeah, the fact that pretty much all these guys are going to get a lot of points from grain and vegetable, as that's normally a very good source for points, but not so good a source for feeding unless you have, great combo cards like Undergardener and Schnapps Distiller. Um, so I think that's quite cool, is that these guys are going to all be quite high on the farming points. Not so much on the animals, though, as it looks like the animals are all going to get gobbled up with Manpanzee and Chris competing to grab them. Reedstone food. That's interesting to me. I guess with that, Manpanzee is counting on getting 1 3-stone action back. And then... oh, this is amazing. We have alms from TheBoot. That is sick. So he had alms basket, undisturbed pond, and alms. That's, at this point in the game, that's enough food for 1 harvest from a single free minor action. So that's really cool. I very much appreciate that. So it looks like we have Chris declaring that he's not going to renovate to a stone, instead deciding to build the Basket Maker's Workshop. With the 3 reed there, I think that's not a bad choice. Might be 4 reed and 2 points next round. Yeah. So Manpanzee might be able to get to stone. And that would be awesome. I think... Yeah, Chris is not going to play that greedy, is he? He's not going to go for stone. Yeah, Chris is just going to... Admin Chris is probably just going to play for the stone oven, I would think. I'm really not sure. Yeah. Especially, Chris, I think Chris needs to... I guess he doesn't need to. Hmm. Yeah, choosing not to reno, realizing that it probably means that Manpanzee is going to get to stone. Well, I don't know about that. Maybe renovating here is the right move. I don't know. I'm actually very confused. Trying to do as good a prediction analysis as I can, but this is when there's so much going on. Like, it's not just that there's so much going on, but it's that all the players are doing lots of good stuff. Normally, part of Agricola is recognizing the limitations of what you can do. Um, and seeing that um, you can't always do everything that you want to. Um, that if you build five wooden rooms, that probably you're not going to have enough wood to do everything that you need to. Now, Manpanzee, of course, is saying, "Hey, I got the charcoal burner. He's going to be worth 5 wood for me. Look at all the wood that I have." Hmm. Very first occupation from Boot, and it is Sunday worker. That's basically that's probably going to be a plow, I would imagine, that he's going to dump Sunday work plow. Um, so he's doing one move and 2 food for 2 points, which is fine. And there we have Chris does decide to reno. So I guess Chris might be looking at this and saying, hey, if I get on Reedstone food next round, I'm going to be able to renovate to stone. Or if he gets on, but if he gets family growth, which I think is what he really wants to get on family growth, play stone oven with his overachiever, and then also get a bonus point with his crib. Or take 2 food. Probably get the bonus point, I would think. Another important thing to look at at this point in the game is, fencing. We're actually going to have a bunch of unused farmyard spaces, it seems. Boot needs to take wood again, and he's not going to do so with his first action. He's going to probably plow, I would imagine. Unless he Sunday works 3 wood, but I doubt he's going to do that. Yeah, that wouldn't be that good. So, yeah. I would think the boot plows and Sunday works his plow here. Yeah. And then probably the rest of the game for him will be taking wood and then building stables, because build fences is going to be occupied by admin Chris, I would think. Or it might even get blocked. If Boot's not careful, he might get blocked by Manpanzee, because Manpanzee says, hey, if I keep your points down, that's like giving points to me. Yeah. Interesting, there are not a lot of bonus points in this game. There are no 4-wood occupations, and there are very few cards that let you do something in exchange for points. A card like Crib, where you can pay food to get points, or thinking of other cards that say, hey, got a lot of this one thing, turn them into points. So all these guys are going to have pretty nice farms, but they're not going to have the greatest. Yeah. So there's Chris taking the Reedstone food so that he can reno fence. So Manpanzee's okay with that. It looks like. I would imagine he renos and plays Stone Oven and says that's cool with me. Because Stone Oven's worth 3 points. Yeah, there it is. I guess the advantage of Chris not taking the Stone Oven in round 12 is that he keeps the stone in order to leave Reno fence open. Because any time that you're locked out of Reno fence, you only have one fence option, and sometimes you're forced to take it early as a precaution. Yeah. I guess I can start looking at the point total, just a quick glance to see where we stand. So we got Manpanzee looking like he's going to come in around. You know what? He's got 1, 2, 3 bonus points. Missing out on Boar, and he's got 3 actions left. So probably they're going to be worth 2 points. So you know what? Manpanzee's only going to hit like 45 or 46, which is not as amazing as I originally thought it might be. Got TheBoot. Well, he's doing even better than I thought. Sitting at 43, and he's missing out on sheep and has probably going to take wood. He's going to get like another 2 points, I would think. So yeah, he's sitting like 45, looks like. And then we've got Chris, 36, 37. He's going to hit. So if he hits 40, that's probably enough for him to advance over Manpanzee. But is he going to? He might not, actually. He's got 2 moves left. He could take cattle for 1. He's also probably going to have to eat points. Oh, that's going to be 2 points and 2 food, 8 clay. Yeah, that's better than taking a cattle. It's going to be tight. Chris might be like 41 and Manpanzee 46. It's going to be really close. And then Chris, hard to calculate his points when he's got his fencing still to do, but I think it's probably safe to say that he's not going to surpass the 55 mark, which he'll need to do in order to advance. But still, kudos to him, showing up and doing his best. All that fun stuff. I'll pull up the scores again just to remind everyone. So we've got Chris, white player Chris at 103, Boot 1 point behind at 102. So I think Boot's safe to advance. Boot's going to beat Chris. He's going to be close with Manpanzee, and he's for sure going to beat Admin Chris. So the Boot, I think, has almost certainly secured first place advancing. So for me, it's between Manpanzee and Chris playing for second at the moment, with a 5-point difference between the two. So we'll see. I wonder if Boot. Let's see what Boot did here. He took sheep. Okay, that's 2 points. Well, it's 1 point because he has to eat a boar, but when he builds the stable again, it's a 2-point move. So, yeah. Boot looking really good. Anytime that you can... Oh, there's Braggart. That's fun. Not going to be enough, but he's not going to hit he's probably not going to break 50, I wouldn't think. But always cool to see Braggart. So we had 2 of the most powerful cards in the game out, in the Charcoal Burner and the Braggart, which makes it interesting. These 2 players were behind. They were sitting in the 3rd, 4th position in standings. So getting a nice that, probably when they saw that, they thought, hey, I have a chance. So that's always cool. And Chris says that he passed charcoal. Wow, that's nuts. So Manpanzee probably was expecting that. Um, that's kind of bad luck for Chris, you know, that he has to pass him on the charcoal burner, but also lucky that he got the braggart. Probably if it was me, I wouldn't want someone revealing that those two cards were in the same pile, just because maybe Manpanzee has, you know, knowing that Manpanzee took Charcoal Burner second, maybe that gives you the information of, oh, he still has his first pick unplayed, and I passed him all those, you know, if you're Chris and you say, oh, I passed him all those cards, oh, he still has his first pick Ock, what if that's, you know, something that gives him a bunch of points? I should block that, you know. Lord of the Manor, not Lord of the Manor, but I don't know, something. It's a little bit of extra information you just don't like to give away. Oh geez, with that, Chris is going to hit, admin Chris is going to hit 41, 44. Yeah, so he's going to hit like 47, so he might win this game actually. You know what, not even that's going to be enough. He might tie or lose to TheBoot. But that won't be enough to advance. But a little bit of a moral victory that he's going to have a strong game anyways. Manpanzee played Crop Rotator. Crop Rotator with the Farmer's Straw Hat is super nice. So let's take a look at their finals. They're going to start coming in. So we've got Chris. I think he ended with 46, depending on how many points he had to eat. Yeah. Manpanzee looking like he's 47. Well done for him. That's going to be enough to advance, actually. Right? Oh, Manpanzee says Chris is 1 point ahead of him. So he's actually at 45. He's only at 45. Okay. So Chris is 41. Yeah, wow. Chris just sneaks in ahead of Manpanzee. And we have TheBoot winning the game at 49. So it's 46 and 45 and 49 and 41. Oh, he already put it in. That's, yeah, good job. TheBoot wins the game with only playing one occupation. So here was me saying you want to play lots of occupations. I am dead wrong. And I got shown that, yeah, Manpanzee saying that he shouldn't have eaten the vegetable. I know I said that he had the moves to make up for eating the vegetable, but maybe not. First pick, farm, school, and on basket. I'm not sure what he's talking about. Maybe talking about farm school the minor. I guess maybe he just never got it off that he planned to play all his occupations with the farm school. Anyways, no, how can you first pick farm school and on basket? I don't know what he's talking about. Anyways, not that important. Yeah, I've rambled more than enough. Thanks everyone for watching this. Hope you've enjoyed it. Feel free to email me or leave a comment if you have any questions or would like to give any feedback. You can check me out. I'm agricolatourny at gmail.com, or through YouTube's probably the better way. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.